Hello, welcome to American Discourse News. Today, I want to show you some groundbreaking information I found out about the Charlie Kirk deal he refused from allegedly the state of Israel. So, when I was watching Tucker Carlson and Theo Vaughn's recent interview, Theo Vaughn dropped some information that I didn't think was widely reported on enough. And he stated a company called Clockwork LLC is partnering with the state of Israel to do digital campaigning to the youth, so Gen Z, things like that. And I thought to myself, that sounds exactly like the letter Charlie Kirk wrote to Netanyahu and how to sell Israel a little bit better to the American people. So what I want to show right now is the video, which has some background into this Clockwork LLC, and then what I found out about that company and about how it relates to Charlie Kirk directly. So I'm going to share that video really quick.
This article says the government of Israel has hired a new conservative aligned firm, Clock Tower X LLC, to create media for general Gen Z audiences in a contract worth $6 million. At least 80% of content Clock Tower produces will be tailored to Gen Z audiences across platforms.
Clock Tower
will integrate its pro-Israel messaging into Salem Media Network properties, a conservative Christian media group that boasts a vast radio network and produces high-profile shows such as Hugh Hewitt Show, Larry Elder Show, and The Right View with Laura Trump. So,
look at that.
Former Trump manager Brad Parscale.
That is so disgusting. That is so. Brad Parscale is doing that. That is.
I don't know him. Is he a nice guy?
I know him. He's a sad guy. Very sad guy.
In its contract, Clock Tower does not reveal much about what kinds of messaging will be promoted on behalf of Israel.
He took money Brad Parscale took money from the Israeli government to do that?
I don't know. Former Trump campaign manager Brad Parscale, the advisor who hired the controversial micro-targeting firm Cambridge Analytic during Trump's 2016 campaign, is at the center of the Israeli government's New Deal.
So Brad Parscale, I don't think is an evil person. He's a weak man, for sure. I mean, demonstrably. But for an American citizen to take money from a foreign government to secretly propagandize on behalf of that government without saying it is really, speaking of unpatriotic. I mean, I hope that's not true.
Well, it's like at this point it's and I guess, I mean, Israel's certainly allowed to advertise wherever they want. Anybody can do this sort of thing.
This isn't advertising. So advertising is not threatening because when it's just straightforward. You see a billboard for jeans and it's like, buy my jeans. Okay, it's your choice. This is basically subliminal messaging. This is an effort to subvert what you think is true by making it dishonest. I'm paying you to lie on my behalf. That's what this is.
So that is what I wanted to show you guys. And Tucker's breakdown is exactly what had me think about what is Clockwork X LLC doing when they're partnering with and contracting with the government of Israel. So Theo already read that article, but I did want to make sure we could back it up and talk about how this relates to you, Charlie Kirk. So the word deal is what instantly made me think there's something more to this, because I remember when Candace Owens said there was a deal that Charlie refused.
And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment, a ton of money. Maybe would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. Charlie said no to Bibi.
And so that's what I want to get into today, is what happened after the Netanyahu letter. So Charlie wrote that letter May 2nd of 2025, and he's warning Netanyahu that the young Americans are losing support for Israel, which is suggesting the messaging strategy is failing. He kind of indicated he didn't want to be the spokesperson at his TPUSA events anymore for Israel. They need to go and send out their own people to make their case. So he basically warned Israel of the collapsing US support. And so then we are going to go into what happened from May to September. So from May to September 10th, we know that Charlie Kirk was under a lot of pressure. We've heard from multiple sources, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens. There are texts that show this, but there was donor and political tension escalating. Charlie texts to a group message that he may abandon the pro-Israel cause, which was actually verified by Andrew Colvett on the Charlie Kirk show. So this is all important information. So this is showing that Charlie does want honesty. He wants transparency. And then on September 10th, the Charlie Kirk is assassinated. And then the narrative is, currently we only have one suspect in custody, and that investigation is ongoing. But what a lot of people have in question is who loses power if Charlie does change his stance. So if Charlie was changing his stance on where he felt he should remain in the Israel discussion, and then who gains power if he's gone? So those are a couple of questions that people have been raising. And so I want to go back to that deal. So Candace alleged that she had insider information that Charlie Kirk refused a deal with the government of Israel, which would help take him to the next level. What I've seen in media is people are trying to figure out who took out Charlie, obviously, who are the key players, who are things like that. But no one's looking into this deal. So what was the deal and where did it go? What happened to the deal? So when I heard Theo say the deal, I thought, let me look into this Clockwork LLC deal. And it has been completed. So on September 18th, Clock Tower X LLC registers as a foreign agent of Israel. This is the deal that Theo is referencing. So we can prove that in the FARA filing that this clock tower registers. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get that pulled up. So we can see right here, the FARA document. Here's the registrant, Clock Tower LLC, and they're stating their business address is here. And then we're going to scroll down, and so you can see here, they have to list the foreign principal for where the registrant is acting or has agreed to act. So we can see this is in Jerusalem. And so the foreign principal on account of each money like that they will be receiving is going to be from, it says right here, State of Israel, Havas Media Network. So they can work out of, they can receive money from either one of these. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show and verify the FARA document is real. This is a true company. This is actually going on. And so what's even more interesting is they're contracted with the State of Israel to target Gen Z and conservative audiences. What's the second part of the article states that the messaging is to be integrated into Salem Media. So Salem Media Group, and it was formerly known as Salem Communications Corporation, is an American radio broadcaster, internet content provider, magazine, and book publisher based in Texas, which targets Christian audiences. They own 117 radio stations in 38 markets, but most importantly, where does this relate to Charlie Kirk? The Salem Media Group has a faction called SRN Talk, which produces news and talk shows. And the Charlie Kirk show falls under the Salem Media Group. So as we could see, this is what put all the pieces together for me, was that deal actually did still go through. Now, it may not have been the exact deal Candace was referencing, but it seems the state of Israel, which is shown in the FARA document, did take his advice and did go through with trying to shape the opinion inside of the U.S. for the young Gen Z voters. So that still happened. And what I wanted to look at one more thing as, why did this deal probably take place? So let's look at the owner of Clockwork LLC, and that's Brad Parscale, who Tucker mentioned. So he was a former Trump campaign strategist through 2016 to 2020. And a little bit about what his Wikipedia said, which we can always take with a grain of salt, and this is what was on their website, says Parscale's spending decisions for the Trump campaign were questioned after his departure as campaign manager. By that time, more than $800,000 had been spent by the Trump campaign on boosting Parscale's social media pages, and $39 million had been paid to two companies owned by Parscale. So that sets the stage for what I'm going to get into. He is now currently the chief strategy officer at Salem Media Group. So the owner of Clockwork LLC, working with the state of Israel and the Havas Media Company, is also the chief strategy officer of the Salem Media Group, which Charlie Kirk show is affiliated under. So that is where you get this deal and what the deal may have been. Now, I don't know that this was the exact deal that Candace Owens alleged Charlie Kirk turned down. He is obviously not here to talk to us about that. But it is interesting that a deal still did go through, outlining his suggestions to the state of Israel. And I haven't seen anyone really talk about that. So what we can prove is Charlie did warn Israel in that note. Charlie did push back on the donor pressure he was receiving to promote Israel more. And then Charlie was killed. And then what happened was a foreign influence campaign still is being launched through these companies I've discussed. And that FARA documentation went through 8 days later. So that kind of tells you a little bit more on the timeline, which I think has not been given completely on. There's been a lot of focus on TPUSA, but not a lot of people have actually looked into what's going on with the Charlie Kirk show. And this is just a side note, but I've seen a lot of people in the comments of the Charlie Kirk show asking why they're continuing the Charlie Kirk show. And they may be under a contract with this Salem Media Group. This is only me wondering that. So maybe that's why they didn't shut down that show, because it is a show with his name. But what we can see is that these interests have now aligned, kind of under what Charlie Kirk said in his letter, but we do have some proof that he was maybe changing his stance there. So what we cannot know is, when were the deals discussed? Was Charlie approached to participate, as Candace alleges? And is this the same deal? I really have no idea. Was he pushing back at all? And then why haven't we heard about this timeline and where this may have came out on Charlie Kirk's behalf, on where he may have been? Now, this is all just something I put together, seeing that Theo Vaughn video and wondering, well, that sounds interesting. Who is Clockwork LLC? That deal word really came to me, and I thought, deal, that's very relevant in the story that we're trying to figure out with Charlie Kirk and where he stood. So just to recap, this is all information I've kind of put together. I don't have any solid concrete proof that this is the deal that Candace was alleging that Charlie was pushing back on, but there did still seem to be some sort of deal made. And I think that's important to note. And it doesn't necessarily look like it was with TPUSA. I don't know how they're affiliated with the Charlie Kirk show, and that would be something else to look into. But this was just me seeing, there looks like to be a lot of focus on TPUSA, when maybe we should start looking at the Charlie Kirk show and how that may have played into this, because they're obviously not operating in the same business entity. Charlie Kirk Show is under the Salem Media Group. So thank you all for coming and watching this video. I do have sources that I'm going to link in my description just so you can all verify, because you should verify your own information before taking someone else's word on these things. But I hope this was informative, and I hope it helps to shape maybe what was going on with the quote unquote deal that Charlie refused. And did he refuse this deal? We have no idea, but it is interesting to learn about how these things work. And, you know, you follow the money, you follow the deal. There's an art of the deal. I always think about that. So anyway, I hope everyone has a good day, and like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.